We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'd love to see a few more questions from the audience if we can get them. Yes, please.
Well, did you say 2 years on that convergence? Do you think that's a reasonable?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's terrific. I do come down on the side of privacy of the genomic data, but in a sense, if the individual knows their odds of various diseases and the insurance company doesn't, it weights the game, right? It seems that the insurance companies really wouldn't be able to survive if everyone who wasn't going to get sick knew that, and then they wouldn't buy insurance, they wouldn't pay into the pool, et cetera. So for the individual to know their odds and nobody else to know it, while for the individual, I kind of like that odds, but it'll break the system. And so, I think there's really going to have to be, a way for everyone to contribute to the health of the population, and without being able to use their own odds for their own financial benefit.
I have a quick answer to that, and then I'll let the rest of the panel feed in. But number one, if you're hedging your bets across the population by delivering this information to individuals, by and large, I think it's to keep them healthier. It's not to, have people just drop out of the system and you know what I mean. So,
but is that how they're going to use it? That would be the goal, I would think. But
yeah, I think the other aspect of it is that as you look across your portfolio of pre-symptomatic risk, and we've looked across hundreds of people now for dozens of chronic conditions, an individual on average has 1 or 2 chronic conditions for which they're at increased risk significantly over the general population. And so you're sort of reshuffling everything, but I don't think you change the economics.
Most of them have only one. It's rare to see a very significant risk for 2 of them. But what is interesting here is that this ability to impute the sequence that we have, you only need to genotype about 2% of the American nation, and you will be able to do the same kind of imputation as we can. So it's not only that there are going to be people who come and they want to have the genome sequence or want to be genotyped. We are also, whoever, be the big bad government or whoever, will be able to impute the sequence and therefore get at least a lot of information about the population, although not the individuals.
I just want to
Dan, then Jamie, quick.
Really quickly. When we talk about genetic information in insurance, there's this tendency for this almost genetic determinism to creep into the conversation. People, think that individuals or insurers are going to get this information and then be able to pinpoint who's going to be sick, who's going to be healthy, who needs insurance, who doesn't. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. We're still figuring out the extent and the accuracy of the predictions that we can make. But even if I had every single protective variant out there, doesn't mean that it wouldn't still be a good idea for me to have health insurance and for me to buy health insurance. Yes, you've got an information asymmetry that's going to need to be addressed in some sort of way. I don't think Gina's a perfect answer to that, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to leave the insurance system.
This is just the epidemiological data indicates that the contribution of genetics to the risk on most of the common diseases is about 70-75%. And that is a pretty large percentage of the risk. So although, yes, they will not be able to say that you have it most definitely going to get a disease, these percentages, these probabilities become extraordinarily meaningful in the context of the insurance business.
I want to hit on this because I think we're focusing too much on genomics. We're really talking about the transition to a society where we can compute probabilities for individuals on a much larger basis. And, we can argue about the assumptions of the meaning of the whole genome sequence increasing our ability to predict more effectively and how much is in that. And quite frankly, it's going to wash up against the same thing that SNPs had, which is it just wasn't that predictive in the first place. And, hype will reality, and then it'll integrate through another curve and get better. But the reality is we know right now enough, if we impute the information we know about each other, to make some very powerful predictions. And those tools are being used already by corporations, governments, infrastructure, in the information war of the individual versus larger systems.
I wholeheartedly disagree with the man on my right-hand side. I can tell you recently, just as an example of the power of the genetics and how incredible impact it has, we have a big project on the genetics of dyslexia. And just the other day, we pulled out a sequence variant that has enormous impact on whether or not you're a bad speller. And actually, if you are very bright your IQ is very high, the impact of this variant is much greater. So if you take out those who spell badly because they're stupid, this variant accounts for a very large percentage of it.
I'm trying to decide whether you're imputing my genome at the moment.
No,
but, but the real question here is, I mean, Kari, I think we're both agreeing and disagreeing. I mean, we have to figure out this. Genome is a point part of this conversation, which is that how do we deal with a society that can use large-scale computing and information to predict the future? And it's not, I mean, right now, how long did your parents live?
In its simplest form, and therefore most easily to digitalize and analyze.
Okay.
That's the only thing it is.
Well, let's hold it there, please, because we're in the rapid-fire round part of the discussion now. So we've only got maybe 5-ish minutes left. So let's try and get these last few questions in. So the lady here, please.
Yes, I'm going to try to get you a little bit off topic there because you've already discussed individualized medicine. And my question is in terms of the other elephant in the room, which is education. And what is it going to take as societies across the world to educate both the layman people and typical people that go into the doctor's office as well as the doctors themselves? Because basically the probability is something to which all of us will have to address as this information becomes available. So right now people with breast cancer can decide to have mastectomies or not. What is the trigger when there's environmental factors that we don't understand or lifetime experience and exposures? So where do you see this moving as we're propelling into $3,000 genomes? Where do you see this going so that we can manage it as a medical community?
We'll start with Dan. And then
yeah, this is a big elephant in the room, and particularly for the PGP. I mean, Jamie mentioned that he didn't pass the screening exam the first time, and you can retake it, thankfully. But there is an incredible, bias in the PGP's model as far as who it is able to recruit because of this tremendously high bar that it sets. And that starts with education, the background information to make sense of this. And as this moves out into broader research studies, as it moves out into doctors' offices, not just in this country but around the world. The education issue is a huge one, and understanding, Kerry can sit here and and understand what his relative risk is or what his lifetime risk is, and fully comprehend that. But most people can't, even probably many people in this auditorium, let alone most people out there who just need to go see their doctors and learn about this. And so that is a huge problem, and is going to be one of the, I think, limiting steps for really taking this out much more broadly into individualized medicine and into people's lives, is really being able to understand it. It's not just the patients themselves, it's the doctors as well, and the people that, we have a tremendous, dearth of genetic counselors, for instance. I mean, there are sort of problems across the board here as far as making sense of this information and helping people, get access to it.